Okay, so Assalamu alaikum. Well, in this video, we'll take a look at the lateral ventricle, right? So we know that we have a ventricular system of ventricles in our brain, and it's consisting of four main ventricles: the lateral ventricle, the third ventricle, the cerebral aqueduct, and the fourth ventricle. So the lateral ventricle is connected with the third ventricle by the foramina of Monro, or the interventricular foramina, right? And then the third ventricle is connected with the fourth ventricle by the way of the cerebral aqueduct, and the fourth ventricle is connected with the central canal downwards, right? So, but in this video, we'll take a look at the this lateral ventricle exclusively. So this is a lateral ventricle consisting of a body, an anterior horn, a posterior horn, and an inferior horn. So we'll take a look at each of its parts in detail. So if you just look at this image, we have, this is the body of the lateral ventricle. अपन इसके relations देखते हैं, कौन से relations बन रहे हैं. So clearly we have the corpus callosum. We know that the corpus callosum is a commissural fiber जो कि left and right cerebral hemisphere को आपस में connect करता है. तो उसके superior boundary में हमें नजर आता है. Inferior boundary is being formed by the caudate nucleus, right? The thalamostriate vein, the striate terminalis जो हमने देखा था connect करी थी posterior aspect of the medulla को with the caudate nucleus, and we also have the body of fornix, right? And the choroid plexus as well. So all these structures present in the floor of the lateral ventricle, and these are the in the roof of the body of the lateral ventricle. अभी हम just some body relations देखते हैं, anterior horn, posterior horn, inferior horn के नहीं, right? Okay, so not the last but not the least, we also have the superior surface of the thalamus as well in the inferior or the floor of the this lateral ventricle. And then the medial wall is being formed by the septum pellucidum, जो हम देखा था extend करता है between the body of fornix till the corpus callosum. So lateral relation में ऐसे नजर आता है, this is the corpus callosum, this is the septum pellucidum, and this is the fornix, and this is the, you can say, the choroidal fissure in which we have the choroidal plexus जो कि इसके रूप में हमें नजर आ रहा है, and this is the lateral ventricle, right? So then we have the relations of the anterior horn. तो anterior horn relation बिल्कुल body के relation जैसे ही होते हैं, that is उसके रूप में हमें again corpus callosum ही नजर आएगा. उसके फ्लोर में हमें कुछ रोस्ट्रम जो होता है ना corpus callosum, वो आगे ऐसे टर्न बैक कर जाता है, due to which it also forms the floor of the of this lateral ventricle as well. And then in the middle wall again we have the septum pellucidum, right? So in addition to that हमें और भी कुछ चीज़ें नजर आती हैं in the anterior horn of our very beautiful lateral ventricle. That is हम ये भी कह सकते हैं that it's also being formed by the you can say the geno of the corpus callosum. हम देख चुके हैं, वो आगे turn back कर जाता है. And then the floor is also containing the head of the caudate nucleus along with the corpus callosum का geno, right? So the body of corpus callosum was forming its roof, the geno of the corpus callosum forming its floor along with the head of the caudate nucleus, right? So in the medial wall again we have the septum pellucidum, and now we'll just take a look at the posterior horn. So posterior horn extends basically into the anterior horn basically extends into the frontal lobe, and posterior horn extends till the occipital lobe, right? So उसके भी roof, lateral wall है, floor है, medial wall है, but उसका जो roof है, जिसका lateral wall है, जिसका floor है, they all are being formed by the tapetum of corpus callosum, which was basically a bundle of the nerve fibers emerging from the corpus callosum laterally, right? So that was forming the roof, lateral wall, and floor, right? And the medial wall is exclusively formed by two important bulgings or two important elevations, जिसमें से जो first one है, that is the bulb of the posterior horn. So basically we know that एक elevation, एक basically projection backward move करती है from the corpus callosum, which you call as a forceps major, right? जो कि एक तरह के you can say fibers हैं cerebrum के, so that fibers फिर से एक elevation बनती है on the medial wall of the lateral ventricle, जिसे हम बोलते हैं क्या, the posterior the bulb of the posterior horn, right, of the lateral ventricle. And along with that we also have एक elevation बनती है due to the calcarine sulcus or the calcarine fissure, जिसकी वजह से हम उस elevation को कहते हैं calcar avis. So there are two elevations or two projections on the medial wall of the posterior horn of the lateral ventricle, that is one of which is the bulb of the posterior horn formed by the forceps major, and the calcar alvis formed by the calcarine fissure, right? So ये भी हो गया. Then we know that there is also an inferior horn extending into the temporal lobe of the brain, and that is also having a floor and a roof. Lateral wall इतनी important नहीं होती इसकी. तो roof is again formed by the टेप्टम, राइट? जो टेप्टम इसकी हमने देखा था कि बना रहा था कौन सी फ्लोर, रूफ और लेटरल वॉल बना था पोस्टीरियर हॉर्न की, वही इंफीरियर हॉर्न का रूफ बना रहा है, राइट? अलॉन्ग विद दैट आल्सो हैव द टेल ऑफ द कॉर्डेड न्यूक्लियस, द एमेक्टोलॉइड न्यूक्लियस, द स्ट्रैटम, जो कि सारे कंपोनेंट्स किसके हैं, लिम्बिक सिस्टम के हैं. द फ्लोर इज बीइंग फ्रॉम द हिप्पोकैम्पस, द फिम्ब्रिया जो कि एक्सटेंड करता है फ्रॉम द हिप्पोकैम्पस, राइट? एंड ऑल द वे एल्विस बनाता हुआ और फिर क्रक्स ऑफ द फॉर्निक्स बना रहा होता है. देन कोलेटरल फिशर को यहाँ पे कोलेटरल सेमनेस भी बन जाती है. सो बेसिकली द जो हमारा इंफीरियर हॉर्न है उसका रूफ बन रहा है किससे, टेप्टम से, कॉर्डेड न्यूक्लियस से, एमेक्टोलॉइड न्यूक्लियस से और स्ट्रैटम एनालिसिस. उसको फ्लोर बन रहा है किससे, हिप्पोकैम्पस से, फिम्ब्रिया से और कोलेटरल एमिनेंस से. तो ये भी सारी बातें होगी. देन वी यूज़ अनदर टर्म दैट इज कॉल्ड एज द क्रोइडल फिशर. तो कहा जाता है कि जैसे हमने पीछे देखा दैट बिटवीन द थैलेमस एंड द फॉर्निक्स वी हैड अ फिशर दैट वाज वी कॉल इट क्रोइडल फिशर. इसके अंदर से क्रोइडल प्लेक्सस जो है वो ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं टू द फ्लोर ऑफ द लेटरल वेंट्रिकल, एंड दैट क्रोइडल प्लेक्सस लेटर ऑन फॉर्म्स द sorry, first of all it had the tila choroidal, then it became the choroidal plexus, जिसमें से फिर CSF बनकर lateral ventricle में drain होता रहेगा, and then this way we will continue the CSF की formation and its circulation. So this is all about the various parts of the lateral ventricle, their relations, and the choroidal plexus of it. So that was all. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz. Take care.